Hey folks, Kilt-Man here. Kilt-Man at your services. How are you all? I hope you're all doing very, very well. Now, just when you thought we were all werewolfed out, another lycanthrope comes loping across the misty moors towards us. It's some way off, yeah, but bear with me. Yes, I've just reviewed Lee Whannell's Blumhouse shitfest that was Wolfman. Yeah. Crap. And we've had quite a lot of werewolf movies of late. You had the Kit Harington thing, The Beast Within, which was also crap. You had Blackout, Larry Fessenden, which I really enjoyed. That was kind of cool. You've had Frank Grillo's Werewolves, which I still haven't seen yet. I know, don't shout at me. I'm going to do it. And we've got... Pierce Brosnan is doing a werewolf. He's playing a werewolf hunter in a movie for his own son. I think it's Sean Brosnan. I did do a video on that a long ways back when he was just scouting locations. So I don't know how far along that's got. But anyway, today I'm in the pub, sitting in a pub, and I'm writing up notes on my phone for a video to do tonight. Not this video. Because whilst I'm writing that, my son Luke, a big fan of the director and filmmaker Robert Eggers, very important this, texted me and said, like, Robert Eggers is doing a new movie. It's called Werewolf. It's a 13th century. I don't know how to give him a kid's voice. He's 23 years old. And it's, he's doing a werewolf movie next. Now, we know that Robert Eggers, who was just riding the crest of the wave, the big gothic wave with Nosferatu. Yes, I reviewed that. Yes, I spent over a year way looking forward to it and doing videos of plenty about it. And then I saw it and I enjoyed the first hour. And then I got really bored beyond belief with the second hour. Although having said that, it's a visual splendor, which you'd expect nothing less from Robert Eggers. And it's a costume at the wazoo and back. And olde English, and the language and dialogue is spectacular, but I was still bored. But it was the first film he'd done which was not his own material. He was remaking a film which he loved. Friedrich Wilhelm Murnau's 1922 Nosferatu with Max Schreck as Count Graf Orlok, the unofficial Dracula. So he did that, and the thing is, I thought, yeah, okay, you're doing this, but we know you're avant-garde, you're a bit different. You don't go down the mainstream channels at all. I love The Witch, the Witch. I adore The Lighthouse. I did not enjoy massively The Northman at first, because it's down to marketing. It was billed, Alexander Skarsgård ripped to fuck, built up, got the traps, everything was like, I'm a fucking berserker beast man. Yeah, looked the part, and it was the old telling of it's Hamlet, but it's the original Nordic version, which is Hamlet, which Shakespeare based his Hamlet upon that story. And you see the trailer, and all the action in it you saw in the trailer, because there's no more action to it. It was airy, fairy, arty-farty, very atmospheric, very brooding, very dark and bizarre and sinister, and very oldie world. And I didn't like it at first, but I've watched it since, and now you know what it is. I'm like, oh yeah. I'm not saying the same thing will be the case with Nosferatu, although we know he's putting out an extended cut, which may change things considerably, or just subliminally. Subliminally. It might just do it, a little extra word there, a little extra long of that sequence there, but who knows. But I live in hope. His next film was going to be a film called The Night, a medieval, dark, brooding, action-ish. Doesn't do action, does he really? Doesn't do action, does Robert Eggers. Hints at it, but you don't really get it, much of it. And, well, no, that's not the next film. The next film he's doing is called Werewulf. Werewolf? Well, hopefully very soon. Here, wolf. It's spelled Werwulf. That's the Germanic term, werewolf. Wer meaning man, wolf meaning, well, you get the picture. Yeah, how one of them things, yeah, but combined. And it's set in the 13th century. So once again, he's going back in time. He's not doing a modern movie. He loves his period dramas. He loves bizarre, wacky, way out, strange, eccentric characters, costumes, mud and sludge, real natural landscapes, and the idiosyncrasies of bizarro characters and their interactions, and obviously folklore, legend, mythology, loves all that. So it's called Werwulf. Now, this news only dropped today, so, and there's not much news to it really. But how can I not talk about this? It's Robert Eggers. Yes, I know Nosferatu kind of fell a little bit for me, but I admire what he did. And the film has been a huge, huge monumental success, which is going to put gothic horror movies way back on the map. So think the late 50s, early 60s of Hammer and Amicus and like the Edgar Allan Poe, Roger Corman movies. Gothic horror is really going to come back into vogue. And for a lot of you guys out there who you're like me, that's why you watch this channel, you're going to love it. There's going to be a huge slew of these movies. Doesn't mean they're going to be any good, but at least we're going to get that genre really up and cutting again. So, right, here we go. I'm going to read out, this is from The Hollywood Reporter, which I think were the first people to break this news. Robert Eggers reteams with focus features for 13th century werewolf thriller, Werwulf. After tackling vampires with Nosferatu, filmmaker Robert Eggers is taking on another horror creature genre in his own inimitable style. Eggers has co-written Werwulf, a werewolf horror project that he will direct as his next feature. So it's co-written, I think we found out who's co-written it with. Focus features Universal's Art House division, which released and financed Nosferatu, is back in business with the filmmaker for Werwulf. The company has dated the thriller for a North America release on Christmas Day 2026. Christmas Day 2026. So we're talking like, we're in 2025 now, so we've got all this year and then you've got all the next year. Well, he released Nosferatu on Christmas Day in the States, and maybe one of the territory, I can't remember now. And then in the UK, we got it on January the 1st. So New Year's Day, we got it. On Nosferatu, New Year's Day. But Christmas Day, and it worked a treat. You would not have thought that. Who the hell is going to ditch their big Christmas meal and go out and watch a choked on the word gothic, a glockenspiel, a gothic old horror movie on Christmas Day? Well, apparently fucking millions of people did. That's great. I applaud you all. My thoughts on the movie, are irrelevant when it comes down to that. It's a great big success, and that marketing bloody well worked, did it not? Alright, so the parties, the makers obviously, are hoping for more holiday greetings, as Nosferatu was also released on Christmas Day and went on to become an improbable hit. Well, of course, you wouldn't expect a massive commercial hit for Robert Eggers. Critically lauded, cult following, but they're not hugely multiplex driven sort of extravaganzas. But Nosferatu, and I still can't believe the amount of people who are not horror fans who have been driven to this film and come away loving it. And I don't, it's great, but I don't understand how it happened. Some kind of drug, maybe? I don't know. Eggers wrote Werwulf with, how do you pronounce this? Sean, it's S-J-O-N, who co-wrote the heady Viking saga The Northman with Robert Eggers. While details are scarce, sources say the story is set in 13th century England. The script also features dialogue that was true to the time period and has translations and annotations for those uninitiated in Old English. Now, I like that, because he does that. He uses old dialogue or old sort of dialects and frames of reference for vocabulary. So he does his studies. You know, for a filmmaker from, you know, the States, he's very highly invested in European and UK based sort of characters, situations, and historical references. And I love that. You don't get that many British filmmakers who are that well versed in what he's talking about. So the script also features dialogue that was true to the time period, as translations and annotations for those uninitiated in Old English. And I would have thought that's going to mean, yeah, they are talking in, obviously in English. The whole film is not going to be subtitled, I wouldn't have thought. But you're going to have moments like dreams or fables told by some old mage or warlock in the woods, or witch in a gingerbread house in the forest. And it'll be an oldie dialogue, which will be subtitled. Or you might drift in and out. He's very arty-farty when it comes to this sort of thing. So it could be anything really. 13th century. So that's Henry III, Edward I. Massive invasions of the UK. It's set in England. Massive invasions of England. Obviously the Romans, the Vikings, the Saxons, the Angles, the Danes, the Normans. So you've got all sorts of crossbreeds have been here. So by that stage, and that's medieval. That's a genuinely medieval time period. And remember, the film he was going to do next after Nosferatu was The Night. Well, is he kind of, well, okay, I wrote Werewolf first. Horror is really working for me, so I won't tell my night story. Let's get that werewolf story, and can we take it back maybe a century or two, and we can, so it'll still be like medieval, but with a werewolf in it, and like old folklore tales from olde England, and presumably Scotland and Wales and Ireland, because the British Isles is rife with werewolf stories. It is. The irony of this video is that I was sitting in the pub, right, with a couple of whiskies there, making little notes for the video I was going to do. And have a guess what that video is going to be. I'm going to do, that video will still happen, but I'm going to do maybe one a week on folklore and legends. And it's interactive, so you can send me stuff from like old Nebraska, or like echelons of Ayers Rock and all that in Australia, you know, Brazil, anywhere, legends. I know enough to carry on for the next 3 or 4 years, doing one a week. But I was going to do this, and it was going to be an old Welsh legend which has four-legged savagery involved in it. And then of course this comes up. I love how things somehow seem to move in a symmetrical sort of, you know, circles, figure eights, whatever, almost like a claw. It's like just ripped through the fabric of your own imagination. And it's I was up there with my idea, it's gone and it's scratched me down to another idea, but they are connected. So I'm doing this video instead. But you're going to get the folklore one. So I think Robert Eggers loves folklore, loves legend, loves mythology, and he plays with these things, obviously. I mean, The Northman is hugely based on many Nordic legends, but obviously Hamlet being the main one. The Lighthouse dips in and out of lots of maritime and bizarre sort of 19th century scary tales, spook tales, and also the madness of being stuck on an isolated rock with a big booming light going across the misty oceans. There's more. Initially, Eggers was planning on shooting the feature in black and white, but that is no longer the case. Black and white? Yeah, well, Nosferatu was pretty much monochromatic. It is in colour, but it's so desaturated and so, lit and spectacularly, moodily lensed that people go like, you do feel like you've watched a black and white film, albeit it has got colour in it, but it's just been drained away. So this was going to be in black and white. He must have been planning this for quite some time, but behind the scenes, and we've not known about this. Suffice to say that considering the setting and the dialect, Eggers is promising another deep dive into a muddy, costume and violent time period, consistent with his oeuvre, which has earned him a loyal film following. Both Eggers and Sjón Sean? I'm going to go with Sean. Will produce alongside Focus Features. Chris and Eleanor Columbus, who worked with Eggers on Nosferatu, will executive produce. Focus, run by Peter Kujawski, has released and worked with Eggers on all his films, including Northman and his earlier movies, The Witch and Lighthouse. Did you need that bit? Like, Peter Kujawski has released and worked with Eggers on all his films, including Northman and his earlier. So they then list all his other films. Focus handled international distribution through Universal International for The Lighthouse. Nosferatu was Eggers' remake of the 1922 Dracula-like thriller by the same name. It starred Lily Rose Depp and Nicholas Hoult as a couple besieged by Count Orlok, played by Bill Skarsgård. It also featured Willem Dafoe, and I want to see Willem Dafoe in this werewolf movie. Willem Dafoe as a werewolf. You've got to remember, Willem Dafoe, face, his normal resting face is that of a fucking gargoyle. But a brilliant, brilliant actor. You know, he's still Sergeant Elias from Platoon to me. Barnes, motherfucker. You know, you son of a bitch. Elias is a water walker. You know, he's Platoon, and of course he's the poster boy from Platoon. As all the blood squibs don't go off, but he's just doing the death judders. Oh, it's just, he's outstanding in everything. He's outstanding in everything I've ever seen him in, and I've seen him in lots. He played the actor Max Schreck in the film Shadow the Vampire, which is a film about the making of Nosferatu, 1922, the original one, where they actually, look, we're making a film about a vampire. Why don't we get a real life vampire? So they get Max Schreck, who genuinely is a vampire, and he starts chowing down on all the cast and crew, and he's, you know, the film might not work because there's no one left to make the bloody movie. It's brilliant. I have reviewed it on the channel. So Willem Dafoe, who's a regular for Robert Eggers, yeah, he'd be great. And you know who else is going to be in there? Ralph Ineson's going to be in there as well. You know, with that gravel voice of his, the voice with like several subwoofers down here, you know, by his esophagus. You know, this is a guy that his voice is even deeper than Michael Wincott's voice. And that is saying something. So right, yeah, that's all about Nosferatu there. The movie Nosferatu, heavy on mood, style, costumes and mannered dialogue, opened Christmas Day and sunk its teeth into a bloody good $40 million 5-day opening. Doubled industry expectations. The movie has sucked up more than 156 million worldwide and become Eggers' highest grossing movie to date. The film will hit digital and store shelves on February 18th. I'm hoping that's going to be the extended cut. They're not going to release the theatrical cut on physical media, and then somewhere later in the year you're going to get, you know, the big fucking limited edition extended cut with all posters and statues and stuff. Don't do it that way. Just give us the extended cut right now. Robert, are you listening? Eggers is rep by WME and Frankfurt Kernit, not Kermit. That's it. That's all we know. So let's take from that. He's doing a film called Werwulf, and it's spelt the Germanic way, Werwulf, and it's set in 13th century olde England, a time when monasteries were being built, the Christian religion was being preached and taught and also despised in equal measure. You had serfs and peasantry, and you had, you know, nobles and knights, and you had a monarchy. It's a real, you know, target-rich environment for werewolfery. You've got, because even at that time, England, most of the British Isles was forested. It was, people forget about this. We've barely got any green belts at all these days in the UK. There's still plenty in Scotland, plenty in Wales. Well, I say plenty. There's areas, but it's not like. Don't forget, the British Isles can fit into Texas 3.5 times. Texas. So we used to be entirely smothered in forests and trees, which is great for archers. You know, we forever cut them down. And yet we used to import when we were fighting the French, which time was that, Kilty? We fought the French a million times, and we've always beaten them as well. Nerd. And we used to import the wood from yew trees to make our bows. I've done videos on this as well, to make our bows, because our yew trees were a bit shit, believe it or not. Typical the UK. You know, our own home produced stuff was actually inferior to best import. It's better. So we're importing stuff from Europe to fight the French. But the UK, the British Isles, was very deeply forested, and we had heaps and heaps of legends of werewolves, witches, little people. That was mainly Ireland, but they're in Wales, they're in Scotland, and they're in Yorkshire as well. Little people, little folk that live in rocks and boulders, and you know, you best not, if you meet them, be polite, because otherwise they're going to fuck you up, and they will. So I've heard. But werewolf legends and witchcraft and the occult was huge. So, and the irony about the video I was going to do was that every legend and myth that you hear, it's been passed down via generation to generation. It may have been a cave painting, then it's got transcribed. It's been a spoken story passed, you know, from tribe to tribe over the centuries. Then it gets written down, and every version kind of gets embellished, kind of goes on. But you've got to remember that every legend, every bit of folklore and mythology has a basis in truth. It comes from somewhere, and the very fact, and I've done videos on this as well, like vampires, werewolves have existed in every single culture, in every country, on every continent in the world. Someone a human turning into a beast. Now obviously in the likes of Africa, they would be tigers, leopards, lions. So it would be someone afflicted by a curse or witchcraft or whatever, who would turn into one of those beasts. Obviously around Europe and the Northern Hemisphere, wolves were the most prevalent predator. Wolves filled the British Isles, filled them. Now I'm a huge lover of wolves. All my dogs have looked like wolves. Of course, as you guys know, I am now dogless at the moment. Roxy, where are you when I need you? All my dogs have that big snouts, pointy ears, curly tail. They look like German Shepherds and the Husky. Oh, that's the look of a wolf. If you can't have a wolf, I want something that looks like a wolf. Simple as. And wolves have got such a bad reputation. And the thing is, but they were apex predators at the time. Way back, we're talking a good few hundred, maybe 1,000 years before the 13th century. There were bears here as well. We had bears across the British Isles, but we'd also joined to Europe at one stage as well. So, you know, the bears were prevalent. We lost all those a long time ago. And but wolves remained, and then got, like in America, like across Europe, France and Germany and Italy, they were hunted to extinction, to the brink of extinction, which is horrible and was wrong, because they were not the bastards that people thought they were. But when mankind made settlements in the wooded areas, well, what's out there? Well, competing for the food source. Wolves were out there, so they became the natural enemy and rival for the food source. So obviously man hated wolves, and but loved his dogs. And you know, you're going to see when I do the next video, you're going to see exactly what the some of you can probably guess what it's going to be. If it's folklore, it's from Wales, and it involves a dog and a wolf. It's very famous, it's heartbreaking, but it's bloody brilliant as well. But wolves and man coexisted badly, and of course wolves got a bad rep. They were apparently nicking babies and children and savaging maidens out milking cows and that kind of stuff. Like, yeah, but They really weren't. You might have had packs of wolves because they live in packs of a family unit, but they wouldn't necessarily attack people. It has happened, of course it has. I'm not saying it didn't happen, but not to the degree that the persecution and the purge of these things. Again, like the old women that, you know, knew herbal remedies, and like, oh, my young boy's got a cough. I'll just bring him round to my gingerbread house, and I'll cook him up a little. I'll pull this together, and I'll pour it into a hot broth, and he'll be fine. And he's fine. Yeah, it's great. So other people start taking their kids there. Oh, yeah, she can cure all ills. But then you get people who are afraid of that, and it's religion again comes into it. If you've got those powers, that's ungodly. Only the saints have those powers, and you're not a saint. So we're going to persecute you, and we're going to put you to the stake. We're going to torture you first, by the way. So everything in your diary, cancel it. You come into our dungeon and you're going to get your ass tortured off. And then, if you're lucky, we're going to drown you or burn you at the stake. Probably both, in fact. And wolves have the same fate. Persecuted and hated. So it's not surprising that werewolf legends and myths came about because of this ferocious rivalry. Mankind's hatred of another predator which could usurp him because it's got more skills, better senses, it's more adept in the countryside and the wilds of the environment. See, man, it's always man fucks everything up, you know. But, you know, at least out of all this, we've got a werewolf legend. And as I said before, the werewolf legend exists in every culture. Whether it be a wolf, it could be another animal, but the process is the same. Someone will change into another animal. It's predominantly wolf. Northern Hemisphere, it's always going to be wolves. Native Americans have got this, you know, every gypsy, you know, cult, is that the right word for it? Every travelling person around Europe, and Eastern Europe and Russia. Russia has a lot of werewolf legends. So, you know, it's rife. So I think Eggers is doing, well, he's doing what I want him to do. He's making a werewolf movie. You know, all this Nosferatu stuff, forget about all that crap. I want to see a werewolf movie. Now, Robert Eggers, it's not going to be a body count flick. Don't expect that. He doesn't do that kind of movie. It's going to be, he's going to explore weird, oldie-weldy personalities who've got their own dysfunctional relationships. In hovels and homesteads, there'll be some kind of nobility there, probably. Some nobleman, an earl, whatever. So you're going to get that. But you're going to get lots of rural, sort of maybe the mix of pagan and Wiccan religions with Christianity being there as well. I'm sure you'll bring it all in. And then into that mix, you've got a werewolf. Or maybe several, who knows? I just hope it genuinely is a werewolf. Please don't have it as a metaphor for, you know, of just something out in the woods. But it's just, I mean, look at The Witch. It is horror. It's a horror film, but it's so not horror film at the same time, because he likes to play with these genres to use the trappings, the visual flourishes, and the mood and atmosphere of horror movies. And yet he's not telling a horror story. Horrible things may happen, but it's deeper. He goes deeper into the well or the rabbit hole. So I'm looking forward to it. Christmas 2026. So you've got to think the night's going to be a couple of years after that, then, isn't it? So there's no cast for this so far, but Willem Dafoe, bring him in, make him a werewolf, please. And there's gonna be a Skarsgård in there. There's always a fucking Skarsgård in his movies now for him. And yet Taylor Joy, maybe. She was meant to be in Nosferatu, of course, but that didn't work out. In the end, we got Lily Rose Depp, who everyone's raving about, and I was like, I wasn't impressed at all with it. But that's just me. But Ralph Ineson, oh God, bring him in. Oh, that'd be fantastic. And yeah, the scope. I'm imagining the Green Knight, yeah, which I love, by the way. The Green Knight meets the Witch, but as a werewolf or something werewolf-like is going to be in there. I hope and pray there's killings. I hope it's not metaphor and allegorical. I hope there genuinely is a werewolf in there. Or is it an old berserker from the Viking days who's formed his own tribe, living in caves, and they wear animal skins and they're feral, you know? Could be that. So it could be like an oldie-weldy version of The Hills of Eyes. And what's The Hills of Eyes from Wes Craven? It's a modern, well, 70s, but a modern day telling of the Scottish Sawney Bean legend. Sawney Bean and his massive clan of cannibals living on the west coast of the Highlands and luring in, you know, travellers and ripping them apart, eating their throats out with ferocious gusto. And the thing is, that's true. That's not a myth. That is true. So there's a lot to play with here, and obviously more and more will come out as the year goes by, and I will report straight away on it, of course. But with Robert Eggers, you're not going to get what you think you're going to get. He has got his own voice now. I think his misstep was Nosferatu, for me personally. His biggest success, and I think it's a misstep. Shows what I know, doesn't it? But it wasn't his own material. He put his own take on it, obviously, but it wasn't what I wanted. And the fact, if you're going to do that story and remake it with his sort of visionary prowess, then do something different with it. He didn't do enough different. He did basically the exact same movie. He just elongated certain scenes and gave a bit more, well, necrophilia. Well, really, was that necessary? Was it? Really? I don't think so. But it was there, but it looked great. Let's leave it at that. Looked great. So this is semi his own material. He's doing this other guy, Son, whatever, Nordic. I don't know what his fucking name is. He's co-written it with this guy. So it's going to be weird. But hopefully he will have learned that Nosferatu made him a lot of money. Big success. He's broke out of the cult sort of, he's a niche filmmaker because the masses have enjoyed Nosferatu. So hopefully that will, okay, right, I'm going to be a bit more mainstream. I'll still tell my story the way I want to tell it, but I'm going to give him a bit more of what they expect, hopefully. I mean, would you expect a big transformation scene? I don't think he'd do it. I don't think he'd do a great big transformation sequence. I think whatever the werewolf is in this, or werewolves, could be many of them, they will be probably they're people who've got rabies. They're hermits that live out in the woods, and they've grown raggedy beards, and they've become very bestial, and they've drunk the wrong kind of water, ate the wrong kind of mushroom, and they've gone rabid. And because that was also another thing, rabies, you froth at the mouth, you act like an animal, you're afraid of water. Part of the werewolf, the folkloric werewolf legend is that werewolves can't cross running water. There's not many movies that have actually ever done that, to be honest, ever really explored that. But it's part of the mythology. Forget full moons and silver bullets. That's not part of. That is not, and you won't get it in this. It will not be in this movie because full moon meant nothing. Silver meant nothing. But running water. So, and rabies, you have a fear of water. Hydrophobia. So and you froth at the mouth. So they were hairy people who used to go on all fours, and because they were ravenous, they would attack people. So there's another sort of explanation for the werewolf legend, but it doesn't explain it how it happened in Africa and India and Australia, you know, and, you know, South America. It does that. It doesn't explain how they had the same fucking legends as well. No, they exist. I know they do, because I am one, for fuck's sake. No. Cheers, y'all, and my tea's gone cold. Typical. So, comment below, let me know what you think. Robert Eggers is doing a werewolf movie. But I'll say again right here, right now, it won't be the werewolf movie that maybe we kind of want him to do. But he will do something which will be thought-provoking, it'll be deep. And the very fact he's going to go into exploring the dialects and, you know, the costumes and the time period, which he does with a fine-tooth comb, and they put you in these environments, these time periods. So it is like literally, you know, you're in like a TARDIS with an Eggers movie. You go back in time and space to a particular period, an era, which is perfectly evoked. So at the very least, you're going to get that. That's like a holiday back in time for 2 hours, you know. So I'm looking forward to it. And once again, that Christmas Day release, that means you guys in the States, you're going to get it before me. Again, sick of this. I'm fucking sick of this. There was a halcyon period the last couple of years where we were getting films before everybody else in the UK. The UK was getting them first. And I love that. And now we're not. I wonder why that is. Our government, we're back at the queue for everything because they've driven us down into that rabbit hole I mentioned. They're burying us in rabbit holes. They're the wolves who are preying on the peasantry, which will be us, of course. Even me, you know, a nobleman who owns Kilt Mansion. You know, I'm still neglected. I'm still going to pay my feudal taxes. I don't know. But movies, we can escape into movies, can't we? The drudgery and the crapites of real life, the stuff of day-to-day reality, we can ignore it watching a movie or watching one of my videos. It's all, you know, meant to get you away from all the shit that you're going to have to confront shortly. Again, the next day. It's always going to be there. Shit is always waiting for you. And you can run, but whichever direction you go in, there'll be a big pile of shit waiting for you. And you can jump, but there'll be clouds of shit waiting for your head to pop into. You got no chance, mate. No chance. But we've got another werewolf movie. Yes. Werewolf, it's called. And I love the way it's done in that spelling as well, which will make it stand out from the crowd, I think. So anyway, we've discussed Robert Eggers. We've discussed folk, mythology, poor old women in the woods getting persecuted, the sad plight and semi-extinction of the lupine creatures, the wolves. Terrible. And Native Americans were wiped out at the exact same time, almost in symmetry, in tandem with wolves. The great big genocide express, North America. And who did that? People. And what kind of people? White people. Just saying, folks. But, you know, it's a fact, Jack. You know, colonialists went over there and ransacked the nation. But we'd done it here first, and we did it all across Europe as well. So we just, new land of dreams. Well, you live here. Well, with nice country, I think we'll take it. But we don't need you, so we're going to kill you. And all these animals, well, nice meat. Let's take all the buffalo. Let's destroy them. You see, on a Kilt-Man video, you get more than just, oh, Robert Eggers is doing a werewolf movie. You get a fucking history tour as well. You get a few lectures. You get a bit of politics thrown in as well. And you get some staunch opinion. And you get a really, really hairy guy talking about werewolves. A really hairy guy in a kilt. Look at that! Look at that! And it is the ancient Mackenzie. With a US cavalry belt on as well, you know. There ain't no one like me. No one. Because, yeah, you're right. There can be only one. So folks, I have been on with Kilt-Man. Please, in the meantime, in this ever, watch your backs. There's a werewolf about in between time. Please keep it kilted, keep it Celtic. And I'm going to see you all. With a fierce underbite. I haven't got an underbite. I've got an overbite. You know when you spit. You know when you spit. As a kid, I couldn't spit. I have friends who could spit for like, I can spit for 20 yards. You go, oh yeah, prove that, 20 yards. And they'd spit and you go like, Jesus, where'd that go? And they spit through their teeth and, you know, and they could do all sorts of tricks with their spit. Go on, go on. Go on, Chris, you spit. And I go, okay. And it just dribbled down my chin because of me overbite. It just dribbled down here. If I'm lucky, it managed to land like a bird shit on my shoulder. Oh, fucking hell. God. I can't spit. It's an ungodly habit anyway. Don't do it. It's uncouth, it's rude. But if I could do it properly, I fucking well would do, you know. Right, I'm out of here. Werewolves. You can't live without them, can you? They're coming to get you in olde English dialect as well. However that translates, no, olde English. Yes, you put a bit of Anglo-Saxon into there, didn't you? A bit of Norman inflection went in there. Don't know where I'm going with that.